one more. Scott Storch calls out the Roots. And he says the Roots are. He said the Roots are haters, and explains that they disrespected him after to depart from the group. So in other words, they caused him to depart from the group because he was being disrespected. He felt disrespected. Here we go.
And Scott, who were you at that point? Because Dre was already Dre, but you weren't known at that point. I know you were with the Roots, but at this point, Dre was here. Where were you?
It's you should have your headphones on, man. I was the producer's producer. No, I mean, like, honestly, I started in the Roots and did a lot of stuff for them.
You did.
Very underappreciated, and I was the guy who, like, again, came up with a lot of the nucleus of what that shit was. And I left the group and was told that I was like the Pete Best of the Roots. You know, Pete Best is the guy that quit the Beatles.
Left the Beatles, yeah.
Yeah. And, like, I mean, even my girlfriend, like, broke up with me because of that and said, "Oh, you fucked up," and this and that. I was like, no, I didn't. Like, I see bigger. I'm not going to go on the road with a bunch of guys that don't appreciate me and be like, "That's the white guy who plays keys in the Roots." So no, I'm the fucking guy coming up with all the shit.
They didn't appreciate
I'll be honest with you. That's funny. That is funny.
you.
Not at all. As
It was
a matter
a
of fact,
falling
they
out.
call me the White Devil. And I'm like the most harmonious, loving,
I'm not gonna lie to you. That is wrong. That you don't have somebody on your team and then call them a white devil. Now, were they playing? They probably was playing. Yeah, you a white devil. You know what I'm saying? But it's still totally disrespectful. And I'm sure they didn't realize the talent and the star power of Scott Storch.
racist person
Early.
ever. And, like, it just hurt me. I was like,
How'd you meet him? How'd you link up with him? Because I work out to one of the songs from Roots.
Yeah,
The one that you did.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't made for the Roots. That song, after I left the Roots, they realized, I guess, that they needed me still. And I was, I got my own little studio in this place called Sigma Sound where all the, like, disco stuff was recorded.
This is where? What city?
In Philly.
Okay.
And they record there downstairs. So, of course, they come upstairs and they're like, you got anything? And they saw I was working with this girl. I'm working with a girl who at the time worked at Urban Outfitters. And now she's one of the most legendary neo-soul legends, Jill Scott. So Jill Scott was not an artist. I was like, yo, you should be an artist.
Shout out to Jill Scott.
You're awesome. She was like working at Urban Outfitters and doing an off-Broadway rendition of Rent. And Questlove came in and heard what we were making. And he said, I got to have this. And that was You Got Me, the song you like to work out to. And they told me, like, when I gave it to them, I was like, make sure Jill stays on it. And at the last minute, they switched it to Erykah Badu.
Huh.
But Jill wrote it.
Erykah Badu.
When I went to tell, like, the people in the Roots that, like, I was still, like, talking to sort of that I was going to work with.
Now, hold on. That is industry stuff. A lot of times when you make a song and the label has control of who gets on that song and who doesn't get on that song. So it may not have been the Roots per se, but they probably had some power to put in whoever on it.
Right. They were like, you working with Dre 10 years too late, bro. Good luck.
This is
like, yeah. And we went on the run of runs.
Did they
and
really
we lit
say
up?
that?
Yeah, they're just all haters.
What happened to those guys?
I ain't gonna lie to you. To say you were working with Dr. Dre 10 years too late is a wild statement. Because Dr. Dre is a legend. He's always going to be relevant in some way, shape, or form or fashion. And I know they eating their words. Whether this is true or not, if it's true, they eating their words.
I mean, they're on the Jimmy Fallon show as a house
the
band.
Roots, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not trying to just dog them out, like, whatever. That was a
You're definitely dogging them out.
part of my journey.
Same group, yeah. Can you pull them up, Rob? They're on Jimmy Fallon every single night.
Yeah.
But do they make new stuff, or it's just they're playing whatever that they're
I don't
playing?
know. You would know that one.
I don't.
All right, we don't got to listen to the rest. But I will say this, man. You never know how people gonna turn out or what people gonna become. So treat people with respect. Treat people with dignity. But that's a wild story for the Roots to be hating on Scott Storch that hard. And I'm pretty sure they were, especially if he was already, into drugs and things like that. They probably treated him more like a J than anything else. But that's just my opinion. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what y'all think. Peace.